What's going on, everybody? It's your boy R.W. Coolins with the Just Coolins podcast. First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. Today, just got a short message for you, just something that I think somebody out there can use going forward, and it may, give you something to give you that little oomph to take you to the next level where you're trying to get to. The year was 2001, and it was a couple months after 9/11, and I was in Washington, D.C., Bolin Air Force Base. I had just finished working the inauguration for George W. Bush's first inauguration from March of 2000 to March of 2001. I just got back to Bolin Air Force Base, and I was the readiness NCO for the base in transportation. And my boss came to me one day, and she says, the commander, she says, I need you to go to a meeting at the Pentagon, which was not out of the ordinary. I went to a lot of meetings at the Pentagon, on different occasions and things like that. So it wasn't anything. I had been in D.C. since 1998. So, going back and forth to the Pentagon was, probably a natural occurrence on a lot of things. So, but she asked me to go. She told me she wanted me to go to this meeting. It was a working group for the stuff after 9/11. I said, okay, no problem. I'm going, So I go to the Pentagon that day for the meeting. And I walk in to the conference room where they're having the meeting at. And this was one of the first times, and I would probably say the only time in my career that I kind of felt out of place. I'll say out of place, and let me just go. And I felt a little out of place. And when I got in there, there's people in there. There's Secret Service members. There's 3-star. There was a 3-star general leading it up. There was a couple 1-stars in there. A bunch of officers. Like I said, Secret Service. And then enlisted wise, there was some E9s in there. But I was the lowest ranking enlisted member in there, and I was an E6 at the time, tech sergeant. So I'm in this meeting, and this is the first meeting, and like I said, I felt a little uncomfortable in this meeting. Now, I'd been to a lot of meetings, but this one just seemed, and I don't know if it had to do with the fact of what we were in the meeting for, or, at the time, I'm not sure if it was just because of all the people that were in there and me being the lowest ranking one fell out of place. And the other part that really stood out at me was the seat for transportation was at the main table, at the large conference room, because, they had the large conference room, general sitting up on this end, and then you got the chairs around the back. But I was at the seat for transportation was at the main table. So, we get done with the first meeting. And like I said, in my eyes, I thought that people were looking at me like, what's he doing in here? He's only E6. Should he be in this meeting and anything like that? So when I got back to the base, I go to my commander and I said, ma'am, I don't think I'm supposed to be in that meeting. And she says, why do you think that? I said, well, I'm the lowest ranking enlisted person in there. And I said, and then when I look around, there's people in my eyes that are giving me a look like I'm not, my arm doesn't say by my rank that I should be in there. So she gave me a funny look, and then she went and sat behind her desk. And when she sat behind her desk, she asked me this question. She said, first of all, do you know transportation? I said, yes, ma'am. I know transportation. She said, and your position, you are my readiness person for this organization, right? I said, yes, ma'am. And then she says, so what makes you think that you shouldn't be in that meeting? And I said, well, looking around the room, being the lowest ranking person in there, she said, well, stop right there. Do you know transportation? And I said, yes, ma'am. And she says, okay, you're supposed to be in the meeting. And then she just stopped right there. And now I'm looking at her like, man, I thought she was going to tell me she was sending somebody else or that she was going to go. I mean, she's a lieutenant colonel. I thought she was going to go. But she didn't give me that. She didn't give me that outlet. She left me in there. Now, mind you, she's telling me these things. She's asking me these questions, and I'm asking her. And at the time when I'm in the meeting, I'm not thinking about what got me to that point of sitting at the table. Now, mind you, I said I worked the inauguration. I did a lot of big events in D.C. while I was there, from 98 up until that point. I had been involved in a lot of big events that went on around there in the position I held, not to include all the things before that, different places I've been and everything like that. So, at that time, me looking at it, no, I wasn't supposed to be there as far as what I seen at the time, not looking back on my experience or anything like this. So I start going to the meetings on a regular and everything. And then about the second or third meeting that I'm in, the general has questions for me. And when he started asking me questions, I'm kicking answers right back. Because like I said, when you know what you know, you know. And I've been doing this for all these years that I've been doing it. And what I had on my arm does not identify what I have in my head. So when the generals ask me these questions, I'm kicking them back to them. Then other people in there are asking questions about transportation. I'm kicking them back. So now this group was together for about 3-4 months because we were rewriting a lot of plans that dealt with, how the Pentagon would react after 9/11. Not going to get into detail about that, but it was a lot of things that were involved in that. So then, as the meetings are going on, I'm more comfortable now. People were in there, they're talking to me after the meetings and different things like that. And now, the time has gone by. We're done. We ended up winning an award because of the working group that we put together as far as being recognized as what we did and what we accomplished, everything in there and all that kind of stuff. But there's one thing that I will tell you that I want everybody out there to think about, and it's this point right here. There's a lot of times in life where we'll walk into a room or we'll walk into a meeting or we'll be somewhere and we don't feel like we belong. There's a lot of times that we'll walk into places and we don't feel comfortable per se. I'm a very confident person in who I am, and I know a lot of people out there are confident. And when I walk in a room, I don't feel intimidated. I don't feel like I have to find somebody that I know. I'm confident in who I am that when I walk in a room, I'm comfortable in that room. But it was something about being in an environment that kind of threw me off my game at that time. And, we always talk about, and we always hear people say that, we want a seat at the table. And what I'm here to tell you this evening is that when we say we want a seat at the table, a lot of times we're not prepared for the seat that we think we're supposed to have. Or we don't think we're worthy of the seat that we think we're supposed to have when the seat is presented to us. What I would tell you is when you walk in a room and someone puts you in a position to be the subject matter expert, or you're in a position where you're the one that has the information or the knowledge of what they're looking for in that group, or to be able to sit at that table, never, never, never sell yourself short. Take yourself for granted for the knowledge that you have and what you know to be true. And know that when you are at that table, when you're at that seat at that table, that you're worthy to be at the table. No, never let anybody feel like you should be sitting at the kids' table during Thanksgiving when you're in an environment like that. When you have a seat at the table, you don't have to prove that you should be at that table. Once the knowledge is needed at that table and you start speaking your knowledge to the people around the table and are also sitting at that table, you will let them know and they will recognize that seat at the table, that seat that you're sitting in at that table at that time, is the seat that you're supposed to be in at that table. Don't sell yourself short, and don't let anybody intimidate you to thinking that you shouldn't be at that table. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely keep your faith in God. Holler at your boy. I'll see you on the video, and I'll see you on the radio. Peace.